countless cultivators stood beneath the heavenly path. Their blood churned with excitement as they witnessed the scene. The heavenly emperor had returned. He was invincible in battle. No one could stand against him. "We welcome the return of the heavenly emperor," a voice rang in the sky. "We welcome the return of the heavenly emperor." One by one, the cultivators cheered. Their voices reverberated throughout the space. In the Qingzhou Academy, the members of the Chao clan were prostrated on the ground. They were too afraid to raise their heads. Their bodies trembled uncontrollably. Everything felt so surreal to them. The person that they had offended was actually the heavenly emperor. On the other hand, Yi Futian did not bother sparing them a glance. "Congratulations." A voice sounded. Master appeared in the sky. "You have finally come to this stage," Master said with a smile. "Master!" Yi Futian bowed to Master while greeting him. He said, "Thank you, Master, for your guidance. I achieved enlightenment because of it. You need not be so humble." "You have surpassed me in your cultivation," Master replied. "It's my turn now to get some pointers from you. What is your state of comprehension toward the past and the present?" "Master once taught me that I am both the past and the present." "I did it," Yi Futian said. "I am who I am in every space and time I have ever existed in." Master pressed further, asking, "However, you did not alter the events in the past. You merely saved some people. Am I right?" If I altered the past and stopped some events from occurring, the future would most likely be different. The present that we have now would become an uncertainty too," Yi Futian explained. "Therefore, I did not do anything that would affect the past. I merely brought some people from the past to the present. Besides that, I started cultivating and comprehending again from the top at every point in time." "No wonder." Master nodded and implied, "So it means that once you achieve enlightenment, you can remain in the loop of space and time and have endless time for cultivation. As a result, you can transcend time and space beyond the pinnacle of cultivation." "PL's read on MYB0's novel. COM, exactly," Yi Futian replied while nodding. The moment he achieved enlightenment, that moment turned into eternity. In the snap of a finger, he had cultivated for eons. He was cultivating and comprehending at every point in time. Finally, all his comprehension accumulated and amounted to the current him. Master advised, "I am not sure whether the universe is also infinite like you. However, with your current cultivation, you are an extraordinary existence among the rulers of the universes. Furthermore, you will grow even stronger in the future. Return to the throne of the heavenly emperor. You transformed into the heavenly path, but you also have a physical body now. You can rule over the world completely." The old heavenly path collapsed, but it never possessed a real physical body before. Nobody had ever achieved Yi Futian's current cultivation before. Most likely, no one could surpass him in the future either. Yi Futian announced, "I transformed into the heavenly path, but I am not the only one who protected the world. This world should be ruled together by various parties." He glanced at the sky, and immediately a golden sky stairwell that extended into the heavens appeared. Yi Futian strode forward. He climbed up the sky stairwell while being showered by snowflakes. As he moved up the stairs, all the cultivators from various corners of the world raised their heads to look at him. Everyone could clearly see the stairwell. Regardless of where they were, the sky stairwell appeared as though it was right before their eyes. The entire world observed the ceremony simultaneously. "Brother Yi!" exclaimed the youths in the Qingzhou Academy. They witnessed Yi Futian ascending the sky stairwell as he was surrounded by divine halos and auspicious signs. Many youths had tears in their eyes. They were tears of excitement. Yi Futian was their brother Yi, the heavenly emperor, the #1 cultivator in the world. He was worshipped by Tianqins. Everyone in the world was watching his coronation now. The youths had fun playing with Brother Yi. They bantered with Brother Yi. They listened to Brother Yi boasting about his past achievements. Hua, Jiu, and Xia Qingyuan teared up as they watched Yi Futian ascend. Tears of joy rolled down their cheeks. They knew that everything had finally come to an end. Yi Futian would finally be delivered from all his suffering. The immense glory that he experienced now was the fruit of the tremendous suffering that he had gone through. He had survived countless tribulations and made it through many life and death situations. Him being alive today was a miracle. Now he had finally reached the peak. He was the highest existence. Everyone worshipped him. No one else would dare to act superior in front of him. No one else would dare to look down on him. No one else would dare to belittle him. The humiliation that he once went through would forever remain in the past. Glory awaited him now. What are you two waiting for? Yi Futian smiled as he turned around to look at Hua, Jiu, and Xia Qingyuan, who remained at the bottom of the stairwell. He extended his hands towards them. The two ladies exchanged looks. Then they walked up the sky stairwell, hand in hand. They followed closely behind Yi Futian. Colorful clouds flew down and weaved into splendid robes that garbed the two of them. They were adorned with phoenix coronets and rosy capes. Their beauty was unparalleled. When Hua, Fenglu, and Emperor Xia saw this scene, they teared up too. Emperor Xia approached Hua Fenglu and patted his shoulder. The latter looked at him, and they broke into a grin. Everything was worth it, Emperor Xia lamented as he stared at the silhouette of his daughter. From now on, the Heavenly Emperor is my son-in-law, Emperor Xia said proudly as he wiped away the tears in the corner of his eyes. In another corner, the cultivators of the Divine Prefecture stood together. Many of them were checking Dong Huang Diyuan out. She revealed a brilliant smile. Her smile was sincere. She knew from a young age that Yi Futian had a lot on his shoulders. She met him for the first time when she was 16. That was their destiny. She was well aware of everything that Yi Futian had gone through. Now that he had finally reached the pinnacle, she could not help but feel happy for him. How can you still be smiling? Dong Huang the Great commented as he looked at Dong Huang Diyuan. Father! Dong Huang Diyuan greeted him with a smile. Sigh! Dong Huang the Great sighed when he saw her earnest smile. He lamented, you were supposed to be father. Dong Huang Diyuan stopped him from saying more. She said, this is good enough. Dong Huang the Great was stunned for a moment. Then he nodded in agreement and said, yes, this is good enough. Yi Futian continued to move up the sky stairwell. He advanced slowly. With a shift of his will, a figure appeared behind Dong Huang the Great. The latter was stunned when he first saw the figure who had appeared. Then he grinned from ear to ear. He approached the person and gave him a big hug. Welcome back, Dong Huang the Great said. Futian rebuilt a body for me, Emperor Yi Qing said. He came from the past. Yi Futian had only met him once at Mount Tianyao in the city of Qingzhou. Yi Futian went back to that exact spot where they met and brought Emperor Yi Qing to the present. We did it, Dong Huang the Great said emotionally. We did it. Emperor Yi Qing was similarly very emotional. After they stopped hugging, Emperor Yi Qing looked at Dong Huang Diyuan. Her eyes were red as she greeted, Father! Emperor Yi Qing approached her and gave her a gentle hug. He said, Diyuan, I am sorry. Dong Huang the Great and Emperor Yi Qing were not afraid to sacrifice themselves to uphold justice. I crown them the immortal emperors of the East. They will rule over all the Tianqins in the East and be in charge of maintaining the order in the Divine Prefecture. A voice sounded from the sky, stairwell. Divine light poured down on Dong Huang the Great and Emperor Yi Qing. The two of them were assigned the title Immortal Emperors of the East and were tasked to rule over all the Tianqins in the East. Congratulations to the Immortal Emperors of the East. Someone bowed and greeted them. One by one, the cultivators bowed and greeted Dong Huang the Great and Emperor Yi Qing. The voices of the crowd shook the heavens and the earth. The Buddha is concerned about the fate of all mankind. He led various Buddhas into battle. He will still rule over the West. I crown him the immortal emperor of the West. From Spirit Mountain, he will command all the Buddhas. I bestow him the golden body of virtues and merits. He is indestructible from now on. As soon as Yi Futian decreed this, endless golden divine light rained down on the Buddha, constructing a golden body for him, Amitabha. When the Buddha was bathed in the divine light, he had a taste of exactly how powerful Yi Futian was currently. He felt emotional. No wonder Yi Futian could strip Ji Wu Dao from the path of the emperor with just a finger. This golden body, forged by Yi Futian, would most likely be able to withstand a power 10 times more powerful than a full blow from the Buddha. Yi Futian continued to decree, I crown great Emperor Ziwei the immortal emperor of the north. He will rule over the Ziwei imperial palace and all the Tianqins in the north. As he said this, great Emperor Ziwei appeared in front of all the cultivators from the Ziwei imperial palace. Gu Donglu is crowned the immortal king of heavenly mandate. He will rule over the heavenly mandate court and all the Tianqins in the central. Yi Qingyao, the reaper, is crowned the immortal emperor of the south. She will rule over the dark court and all the Tianqins in the south. The evil emperor and the dark sovereign repented at the last minute. Therefore, the evil emperor can continue to rule over the empty divine realm. I enfeoff the dark sovereign with the bright continent. I crown Shen, the god of light. I will forge him the bright temple. I crown Shi Qi Yao, the god of rain. I will forge her the rain temple. I crown Feng Si Yuan, little Ling. Tai Tu and Duo, you the great emperors of four corners. I will forge them the four corners temple. Yi Futian's decrees sounded one by one from the top of the sky stairwell. His commands echoed across space. On this day, Yi Futian, the heavenly emperor, bestowed titles to everyone who deserved it. Divine halos poured down from the sky and enveloped the vast space. Cultivators from all around the world looked at the newly crowned immortal emperors and gods with eyes of admiration. The crowd looked at Yi Futian's silhouette. He ascended to the very top of the sky stairwell. Then he turned around and declared, Now, the age of the gods has come once again. The various gods will maintain the world order and teach the way to the future generations. I will not interfere in the world order. This world is collaboratively ruled by various gods together. The age of the gods had come again. Yi Futian actually did not plan to control the world order himself. Did he plan to retire after this? Countless gazes were fixed on the silhouette on the sky stairwell. He looked so heavenly as the divine light flowed around him. This scene was forever etched in the memory of everyone. They would never forget it. In the year 20 of Futian calendar, an old man and a youth were walking down a street in the city of Qingzhou. The youth was eager to know more after listening to the old man telling him the tales of the heavenly emperor, a god, the ultimate god to be exact, originated from their city. Grandfather, where did the heavenly emperor go after he ascended to the throne? Asked the youth. The whereabouts of the heavenly emperor were unknown to the world now. After he ascended, the heavenly emperor assigned various gods to rule over the world order. Then, he disappeared from the eyes of the public. No one knows his whereabouts. Some say that he is living in seclusion with his wives now. Some say that he changed his appearance in order to live an ordinary life. There are even people who claim that the heavenly emperor is now on his quest to conquer other universes, and he has already conquered many of them. The old man spoke while holding his grandson's hand. He could still vividly recall everything that happened on the day the heavenly emperor was crowned god. It was as though the event occurred yesterday. The old man continued as he looked at the sky. Of course, even if we don't have any news of the heavenly emperor, he is ubiquitous. The sky itself is his transfiguration. How about the princess of the divine prefecture? Surely she likes the heavenly emperor too. Did she get married to him? Asked the youth. That's the thing everyone in the world is dying to find out, the old man said with a sigh. Of course. Princess Diyuan likes him too. We're talking about the heavenly emperor here. Since the heavenly emperor assigned various gods to rule over the world order, does it mean that there will be no disputes in the future? The youth asked. But why is there still so much discord in the Qingzhou Academy now? The old man replied, disputes exist wherever living beings are. Both humans and gods are no exception to this. The divine domain of the Taichu realm was bustling. There were a large number of cultivators here, top cultivators from various worlds who practiced very different techniques, gathered in this domain. It was because they could get cultivation techniques and treasure items from all corners of the world here. Of course, there were countless disputes here too. Many exceptional figures visited the divine domain of the Taichu realm. Every one of them were overlords in their respective worlds. However, they had to keep a low profile when they came here to cultivate. A group of youngsters was enjoying tea in a tavern. This tavern was 33 stories tall and was luxurious. The group of youngsters was on the highest floor, where they could enjoy the scenery of the lively domain. As expected, the divine domain of the Taichu realm is extraordinary. It is more prosperous than any other city in our world. Among the group was a maiden dressed in green robes. She was around 18 years of age. Her eyes sparkled like water, and she had a face that could launch 1,000 ships. No one dared to sully her. The Taichu realm is one of the worlds under the rule of the Palace of Gods. Uncle said that currently, among the discovered universes, this universe ruled by the Palace of Gods is the most powerful. The Taichu realm is a major world and can be ranked among the top 5 worlds. The divine domain is the center of the Taichu realm, so it is naturally prosperous. Next to the woman was a youth dressed in white robes with a sword on his back. He spoke in a gentle tone and was very sophisticated. "I say, miss, have you had your fun? Shouldn't we be going home?" said a burly youth sitting across from the maiden. His skin had a bronze sheen, and his figure revealed muscles full of explosive force. His pupils were full of vigor. However, when facing this maiden, he was begging her in a pitiful manner. "Isn't it nice to see the scenery in other worlds? Why do we need to go back?" The maiden said with a faint smile, "Brother Shou, how many times have you tried to persuade little Een to return home?" The white-robed youth with a sword said with a smile. "This fellow, could it be that you do not know how much attention her looks are drawing?" The burly youth grumbled. "You Shou, are you lacking self-confidence?" said another maiden dressed in white robes sitting beside little Een. She was similarly extremely beautiful. She had an extraordinary innate temperament. She appeared elegant and noble. "Elder sister June, it is not that I do not have self-confidence. It is just that the gazes of those fellows were too disgusting. Little Een also did not allow me to take action against them," complained Yu Shou in a depressed tone. He swept a glance around them. As expected, he saw many people looking at them, especially little Een and elder sister June. "What are you looking at?" yelled Yu Shou as he stood up. His yell was like a roar of thunder, causing the wine cups on the tables of those watching them tremble. The crowd immediately retracted their gazes when they knew that this youth was not to be trifled with. There were crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the divine domain of the Taichu realm. There were countless powerful cultivators here. Those who dared to act so presumptuously most likely came from extraordinary backgrounds. "PL's read on MYB0's Nov L, COM Paper Tiger," said elder sister June with a faint smile. In reality, she was just in her 20s. However, she was the oldest, so she was their leader away from home. With little Een around, Yu Shou would forever be just a paper tiger. They would not allow him to act out as he pleased. If not, with his temper, they would never enjoy peace. "Sit down," chided Eugene as she stared at Yu Shou. Yu Shou immediately gave her a pitiful glance and replied, "All right." As he said this, he sat down. If the members of the Devil World saw their young master acting in such a manner, they would have been stunned. Gu Shijuan told Yu Shou, the Taichu realm is a major world ruled by the Palace of Gods. There are cultivators who cultivate different techniques here. This is still a place worth exploring. Please don't be so anxious to return home." "All right, elder sister June," Yu Shou answered Gu Shijuan in a very respectful tone. They had all grown up together. Gu Shijuan was slightly older, so she played the role of elder sister. Their group sat there quietly. The people in the tavern were chatting amongst themselves. Their group heard many people talking about the same topic. "The proud sun list of the world of the gods," exclaimed Yi Jin in curiosity. Yi Jifan explained, "Based on what they said, only cultivators below 30 are eligible for the proud sun list. The palace of gods rules over many universes, and they are all interconnected. There are only 81 members on the proud sun list. New members replace old members. Those on the proud sun list are all proud sons of heaven. They can be considered prominent figures of the current generation." Yi Jifan was born a few days after Yi Jin. Both of them had similar names. The abilities of those on the proud sun list should be at the Renhuang plane. "They can indeed be considered peerless figures," added Gu Shijuan as she nodded her head. "Ordinary people could not reach such a plane at such a young age. Hence, almost all those on the proud sun list came from powerful backgrounds. Many of them were descendants of the various gods of the Palace of Gods. They are all just showy with no solid worth," said Yu Shou in an underestimating tone. Yi Jin looked at him and asked, "Where did you learn such words?" "I learned it while touring the world with you," replied Yu Shou. "Gu Feiyang got on the proud sun list by force, suppressing Mo Wio. He was listed on the proud sun list by the Tianji Palace. The Tianji Palace prophesied that Gu Feiyang would have the chance to reach the top 3 in the future," said someone who was having a discussion to the side right then. "Who is this Gu Feiyang?" someone asked curiously. Another person explained, "He is a descendant of Emperor Gu. Rumor has it that he began cultivating when he was 3 years old. He proved his path when he was 10 and began challenging cultivators from all over the world at 15. He has yet to record a loss. He wishes to emulate his predecessor, Emperor Gu, and prove his path through combat. Rumor has it that he is, as his name suggests, he is domineering and arrogant. He does not consider ordinary people his equals. If my predecessor were Emperor Gu, one of the core members of the Palace of Gods, I would be even more arrogant than he is now. However, that is because I have the backing of my ancestors," someone said with a smile. Just as that person was speaking, the surrounding space suddenly fell silent. Many people were looking in the same direction. A group of people had entered the tavern. Their leader was a person in his 20s. He wore a long robe. His long, jet-black hair fluttered in the wind. His handsome face gave off an indescribable suave air. Just by his temperament alone, he could be considered a prominent figure. As he walked, a formless boundary field seemed to form around him. He glanced at the speaker and said, "You know what to do." The expression of the speaker turned pale. He had already been signaled by his companions. He knew that this person was Gu Feiyang. The speaker decisively slapped himself in the face a few times. He bowed and pleaded, "I have been careless with my words. Please forgive me." Gu Feiyang cast a glance at him. Then he took a seat in a corner. The tavern turned exceptionally quiet all of a sudden. Suddenly, Gu Feiyang raised his cup, and the wine in it transformed into a sharp sword that slit the throat of the other party. The person was killed with a single attack as he fell to the ground. The silence in the tavern grew more prominent. No one dared to speak a word. The crowd even held their breath. Yi Jin frowned, seemingly displeased. This man was too ruthless. He slaughtered a person due to a slight disagreement. Yu Shou was a reckless lad too. However, he would never injure anyone unless the other party was an atrocious person. "You, come over and pour me a cup of wine," Gu Feiyang ordered Yin coldly, seemingly sensing her dissatisfaction. All the eyes were on Yi Jin in the silent restaurant. At first sight of the woman's stunning features and extraordinary temperament, anyone would know that she was not an everyday person. Even so, how could she hold a candle to Gu Feiyang? Within the world reigned by the Palace of Gods, there were only a handful of people who could be comparable to Gu Feiyang. He was listed on the proud sun list through his abnormal talents and was undefeatable. The Tianji Palace had even put him in the top 3 of the Proud Son list. Moreover, he was the descendant of an ancient emperor. Nevertheless, Yi Jin paid no heed to any of that and merely furrowed her brows. Gu Feiyong was being too arrogant. He would murder someone at a whim and even dare to make her pour him a cup of tea. Although Yi Jin remained her composure, the people around her had been driven up the wall. Gu Shijuan's expression turned gloomy, while Yi Jifan had already manifested swords around him. Who was Yi Jin? She was the daughter of the heavenly emperor and the empress. From the day she was born, no one would dare to disrespect her, let alone humiliate her like that. Destroy your cultivation, and I'll let you leave this place alive. Yu Shou's expression turned sullen. Although he remained seated, anyone could tell that he could barely hold back his anger. He would have battled that man if it weren't for Yi Jin's disrelish of him getting into trouble. Suddenly, the entire restaurant turned dead silent. What was Yu Shou talking about? Was he asking Gu Feiyong to destroy his cultivation? Everyone stopped what they were doing in the ominous silence. It was as if they had forgotten how to breathe. The people beside Gu Feiyong were stunned as they gaped at Yu Shou in bemusement. Who was this lunatic that did not know his place? This man might have been burly, but was he born without a brain? Boom! A sword will suddenly burst out. Then a cultivator in white could be seen sitting there with swords, encircling his entire body, pressuring the restaurant. Turning to look at the others, he asked, "What should we do if someone were to disrespect young Master Gu?" A cultured-looking, middle-aged man commented, "Kill." "Indeed." The cultivator in white nodded. Turning his gaze at Yi Jin, he bellowed, "It's your pleasure to be able to pour a cup for young Master Gu. Why won't you come forward and do what you should do?" P.L.'s read on MYB0's Novell. COMU Shou glanced at Yi Jin, brimming with killing intent. Although they had been traveling to different universes together and had met all sorts of people, encountering such a group of arrogant people was new to them. Seeing that Yi Jin, Yu Shou, and the others remained unmoved, the cultivator in white got up and walked toward them. The sword hovered around his body, while a sword manifested on top of his head. The sight of it sent chills down the spines of the crowds. When the sword on his head pointed at Yi Jin, he questioned, "Young Master Gu, do you still need her?" "Do whatever you deem fit," Gu Feiyong uttered without lifting his head. Although Yi Jin was an exceptionally beautiful woman, he was not very attracted to her. After all, women would only affect his cultivation. So, he was not interested in women in general. Roger that, the cultivator in white turned to Yi Jin and said, "If you would kneel and beg for forgiveness, you could still live to see another day." "Jifan." Gu Shijuan raised her head and looked at Yi Jifan. Understanding what she meant, he summoned a sword from a distance that lit up the heavens. In that instant, the cultivators inside the restaurant felt a powerful killing intention, while some were even temporarily blinded. What just happened? Their hearts were pounding like crazy as they checked the surroundings. Although they could not notice anything out of place, blood flowed down from the forehead of the snobbish cultivator in white, and he dropped to the ground face first. His eyes were wide open at the moment of death, and he didn't even know what had just happened. Yi Jifan, the son of Yi Wuchen and Lu Chenyu, was the disciple of the 3 sword gods. His father, Yi Wuchen, the Desolation sword god, and the Lihin sword god, together with the god of light, would guide him in practicing the swordsmanship of light. Yi Futian was his godfather. Hence, he was given the name Jifan, which was similar to Yi Jin. The atmosphere inside the restaurant was still silent. Stares of disbelief were gaping at the corpse. Then they turned to look at Yi Jiqian and her group and gasped. Were these people this powerful as well? It seemed like they were not ordinary people. Even so, why would they incur the wrath of Gu Feiyong? Who would dare to cross him in the world ruled by the palace of gods? No matter their might or background, they would only meet their demise in the end. Glaring at the corpse on the floor, Gu Feiyang put down the cup in his hand. He unleashed a terrifying aura that instantly permeated the entire restaurant at that moment. When that happened, nearly all the cultivators in the restaurant got up and fled from the scene. They knew huge trouble was about to befall. There was a gale in the restaurant when Gu Feiyang got up. The entire atmosphere of that place changed as he shot a dark look at Yi Jin and the others. Many cultivators from afar were stunned when they noticed Gu Feiyang unleashed his skills. Who would dare to provoke him? It was a good thing, since they could witness the might of the person who had entered the Proud Sun list. Bang! There were cracks everywhere in the restaurant, right after Gu Feiyang took a step forward. The atmosphere was pervaded by his aura when a phantasm of an ancient god appeared behind him. After pointing his finger at Yi Jin and the others, the heavens fell apart. Countless light of destruction was fired at them with the intention of annihilating them. The thrust of his finger was like the attack of a heavenly immortal, unleashing like a divine tribulation. Many cultivators looked at them in pity. Although the sword behind Yi Jifan was unsheathed, Yu Shou stood before him. At once, a catastrophic maroon light of the blade lit up the atmosphere and flew toward this location. There was a conspicuous line that split the sky. Numerous catastrophic light rays shattered the force of the tribulation, while the maroon light of the blade slashed the finger of the heavenly immortal in half. It did not stop until it obliterated the phantasm of the ancient god. Bam! Following a loud bang and the flash of the light of the blade, Yi Jin and her group were still alive and kicking. Instead, Gu Feiyang was sent flying out of the restaurant while his finger was shaking. Blood could be seen dripping down from it. What the hearts of the onlookers skipped a beat as they wondered who that person was. They could not believe that a top achiever of the Proud Sun list, Gu Feiyang, was sent flying backward with only one attack. You're definitely tired of living. You shall be rated with a death stare. Anyone who would dare to humiliate Yi Jin was getting on his nerves. He was named Yu Shou, and his name had the meaning of protection. After taking a step forward, the catastrophic light radiated the firmament, turning it into maroon color, intimidating the surrounding cultivators with his heavenly might. At that moment, they knew Yu Shou was a powerful individual. After a maroon demonic blade descended from the sky, Yu Shou held it in his hand and fired another slash even more powerful than the previous one. As the light of the slash filled the sky, Gu Feiyang howled and manifested the phantasm of the ancient god that hurled a domineering palm out to fight against the maroon, demonic blade. Suddenly, deafening clangs were heard before the palm was split open. The slash of the maroon, demonic blade fired at the body of the ancient god. Despite Gu Feiyang's best effort, the haughty man who entered the Proud Sun list could not stop the slash of Yu Shou. This is presumptuous. A loud roar could be heard from the sky as a divine light shone on the blade of Yu Shou, breaking in the process and sending him backward as he let out a groan. The hearts of the crowds were beating like a drum when they felt the might of a heavenly immortal. Lifting their heads, they immediately caught sight of the silhouette of a heavenly immortal. "Feiyang, are you all right?" the heavenly immortal in the sky asked as he stared at Gu Feiyang. "I'm fine." Gu Feiyang's expression turned glum as he was utterly defeated. This individual was one of the heavenly immortals of the Palace of Gods, a mighty cultivator under the command of the ancient emperor. The heavenly immortal nodded. Right then, he gazed at Yu Shou and the others condescendingly. Turning his eyes into golden color, he fired divine lights from them. Then he admonished, "How dare you behave like a bunch of barbarians here? You shall all die now." The crowds instantly turned their eyes on Yu Shou. This individual was truly overpowering. It was unfortunate that his opponent was Gu Feiyang. Now that a heavenly immortal had arrived, no way any of them could survive anymore. Which lowlife worm dared to disrespect my young miss and act like a savage? Another voice could be heard bellowing from the sky. Just then the sky was split open, and a dazzling divine light beamed down. Then a heavenly immortal dressed in a golden, feathered garment could be seen descending from the firmament. It's a heavenly immortal. Many cultivators looked up at the sky of the Tianchu realm, only to realize that it was split open. A heavenly immortal clad in a golden feather clothing was covered with a divine light. That feather clothing was like sturdy and clear-cut armor. Another heavenly immortal had shown up in the sky, but they were not from the palace of gods. Young miss? The eyes of the crowds were on Yi Jiyin and her group. To think that these people were high-born individuals who had a heavenly immortal as their guardian. However, which force would dare to cross the palace of gods in a world reigned by it? A fellow elder of the palace of gods would be an exception, but that would be impossible. Otherwise, Gu Feiyan would have known them. The demon monarch. The pupils of the heavenly immortal of the palace of gods shrunk as he stared at the figure dressed in golden feather clothing. Then he mentioned, "I am one of the itinerant cultivators from the palace of gods, Taishan. Identify yourself." The palace of gods was ruled by a group of elders whose influence extended across the entire world. There were many itinerant cultivators under the command of the elders. Each of them was a heavenly immortal, and the itinerant cultivator Taishan was one of them. Divine light surrounded his body, making him look intimidating. Hovering in the void, he glanced at the masses with a condescending look. In the infinitely vast multiverse, the Palace of Gods was one of the powerful forces that ruled many universes. Tianchu Realm was one of their territories. The Palace of Gods was the most prominent and supreme organization in this world. So he did not have to care about his opponent's background. His enemy was the demon monarch, the transmuted form of Little Condor. He turned his eyes to look at Yusho and thought, to think that second elder's son was bullied by some random person. If he were here, he would have cut the enemy in half. Besides, young Miss was here as well. These cocky lowlifes were totally out of line, making the Condor Emperor furious. "Uncle Condor." Yi Jin and Yusho greeted. Little Condor was their playmate. Although he was the mount of Yi Jin's father, they would always pay him respect. They would often ride on him to travel around, while he would also make jokes to alleviate their mood. "Young Miss, I'll go and finish off that scoundrel now," Little Condor stated. Who did they think the young miss was? How could he allow her to be bullied by some strangers? It was too much. The itinerant cultivator, Taishan, furrowed his brows. Immediately, a terrifying divine power permeated the sky. A storm stirred up by the invisible divine power rushed toward Little Condor, as an overpowering gods might pressurize the atmosphere. What a ridiculous remark! The whole atmosphere rumbled when the itinerant cultivator Taishan took a step forward. A matchless god's might pervaded the sky as if reality would crumble at any time. Simultaneously, multiple skyscraping stone pillars descended from the sky, aiming at the location of Little Condor, trying to repress the whole area. P.L.'s read on MYB0's novel, COM Whoosh. When the gale blew up, Little Condor transformed his body back to its original form, looking colossal. All the golden feathers on his body were like sharpened, divine weapons. His form turned into a sparkling radiance when he flapped his wings. They produced flying slashes that tore open the fabric of space, cut off all the skyscraping stone pillars, and flew toward the itinerant cultivator Taishan's towering body of the heavenly immortal. In that instant, the gigantic figure gleamed and transformed into a bona fide divine body that assimilated with the world as if it was a god that ruled the universe. Conjuring incredible force in his arms, he hurled a fistful that shattered the atmosphere, stirring up a violent cyclone. It traversed the void and fired at Little Condor. "Heaven collapse!" a resounding voice piped. The sky trembled at his command. Countless cultivators nearby felt like their bodies were about to break into pieces. Yet Little Condor remained unflinching and flew forward as his wings turned into genuine divine arms. God Slayer! Clang! Clang! The ear-piercing sound of the wings cutting through the fistful could be heard. The unstoppable slashes collided with the heaven-collapsing fist head-on, causing a deep, resonant bang that disintegrated many surrounding buildings. Most people were flattened against the ground when the storm swept through. Almost no one could stand up when the ripple hit. This is madness. The hearts of the cultivators of the Tianchu realm skipped a beat at the breakout of the battle of the heavenly immortal. No one had expected a foreign cultivator would fight the heavenly immortal of the palace of gods without hesitation. Sounds of clashes could be heard in the sky ceaselessly. The atmosphere would quiver intensely at each collision. The scale of the battle between two heavenly immortals must be unimaginably spectacular. Hey beast, how dare you? Don't think you get away after defying an itinerant cultivator of the palace of gods. The itinerant cultivator Taishan chided angrily in the middle of the fight. He could not believe that the demon monarch could wipe the floor with him. Don't go around flaunting the name of the palace of gods. It means nothing to me. Who are you to bully my young miss? Little Condor continued in a loud voice. As a follower of my great master, I would be ashamed to return to him if I could not even slay you vermin of a cultivator right now. Slash of sparkling radiance. Right after he spoke, a dazzling golden divine light tore open the sky, creating a fissure in the fabric of space. When the brilliance cut through the heavens, a spurt of blood appeared as the itinerant cultivator Taishan groaned in agony. The impact of the attack sent both the itinerant cultivator Taishan and Little Condor flying backward, canceling out the powerful storm. The crowd raised their heads to stare at the sky and noticed blood oozing out of the gigantic body of the heavenly immortal. The sight of the missing limb was a little too eerie to behold. The itinerant cultivator of the palace of gods, the heavenly immortal Taishan, had gotten one of his limbs chopped off. What a crazy turn of events! To think that one could witness an undaunted individual fight one of the strongest younger generations of the palace of gods, Gufeong, while the former's reinforcement, the demon monarch, sever the limb of the itinerant cultivator. Was there actually someone who would stand against the palace of gods? What about the master of the demon monarch? Could it be that the woman who Gufeong had asked to pour him a cup of drink was actually the progeny of the demon monarch's master? Should that be the case, how powerful could the demon monarch's master be? Another booming sound was heard when Yu Shou hurled attacks at Gufeong. The former easily defeated the cocky cultivator who entered the proud sun list. The entire fight was one-sided. I don't care who you are, but you'll be skinned alive for offending the palace of gods, the voice of the heavenly immortal Taishan echoed through the heavens. Thunders rumbled when his voice traveled to the sky. Then it was split open. Following that, a peerless god's might pervaded the atmosphere. Everyone in the Taichu realm lifted their heads to gape at the sky. Many of them showed reverence and bowed to worship their deity. Little Condor frowned after raising his head to stare at the sky. This world was controlled by the palace of gods. In other words, its will would be equivalent to the will of the world. The itinerant cultivator Taishan must have informed the heavens earlier. An enormous divine palace could be seen at the peak of the firmament. A lineup of the itinerant cultivators of the palace of gods was hovering outside the palace. At that time, a silhouette opened his eyes while sitting in a lotus position inside the divine palace and peered at the lower realm condescendingly. With just a glance, countless rays of divine light beamed toward the Tianchu realm. Meanwhile, a heavenly might filled up the atmosphere, flattening against Little Condor, Yu Shou, Yi Jin, and the others. It was especially bad for Yu Shou, Yi Jin, and the likes. Under the suppression of the heavenly path, their faces turned ashen, and their bodies turned feeble. "Kneel!" A voice sounded like the heavens roared from the above.